Are you looking at printing like half a billboard, or what are you looking at doing? Your eye is only going to see so much.
This is like the cheap Wish version of Wrath of Khan that like you're watching at the local high school.
And after a long hiatus, we are back with a new episode of the Two Sour Show. I'm Brian.
And I'm Dane.
Oi.
Yeah, it has been a minute.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've been offline for quite a bit. I had surgery. Had an organ removed, so that was fun.
Yeah, and I had a second child. I think we touched on it in like one of the last times recorded. And one kid is manageable. 2 kids is 5 times the adventure and everything. And they say that having, the first kid will lull you into a false sense of security. So the second kid will absolutely throw everything you knew out the window. And that is exactly the case. And being that my son was first and now my daughter, it is polar opposites in every aspect, in every possible way that you can imagine. And life has been life on this end. On top of having a job that I now work 50 to 60 hours a week at, it is quite the adventure of always being a beck and call and having my CEO call me on Sundays on occasion, which is not how I like to end my weekends, but is what it is. So life has been life, very, very much of life. So, yeah, it's been an adventure, but it has been quite a long time coming. I know you and I have been talking off and on and getting everything. Hey, we're going to get it up, and then just one thing happens here or there, or as life, as we say, life happens.
Oh,
I found a way. But,
oh yeah, no, it's it's hard to think about that kind of stuff when you're like recuperating from surgery. You're just kind of like, whoa.
Oh yeah, dude, that's the last thing. Sitting there in the hospital bed, going, "Oh man, how can I record this next episode or anything like that?" It's the only people I can think of that do that are like YouTubers like Markiplier and those guys who are like, "Oh, I'm in the hospital, got to send an update or something."
Yeah,
like
I'm sure if we were making the kind of money that those guys were making, I'm sure I probably would have figured out a way to away from my recliner to be like, I'm ready.
Right, just record from a phone. We can figure something out from there.
Exactly.
Today from the recliner, Brian's calling in. So yeah, no, I feel that one. Nah, dude, it's been a crazy period of time, but it's long time coming to come back to it. It feels good. I know I missed doing this
Oh yeah,
with you and everything. So
yep,
it's good. It's therapeutic. It's therapeutic.
Yep.
So
no, the one thing I have come out of the between the pandemic and surgery and all that is when we went into all the pandemic mode, I basically hadn't had any alcohol since then.
Oh, nice. You good job, man.
So when after there's the damnedest thing. All through the pandemic, didn't have any cravings, nothing. Had my surgery, recuperated, and had the just most insane craving. I wanted a beer. Like, just absolutely just like, I really want a beer.
Okay.
But having not had alcohol in almost 3 years, I was also kind of like, well, I don't want to necessarily reset that.
I get that.
So, one of the wrestlers on AEW, Jon Moxley, quit drinking. And one of the things that he kind of spoke of was this company called Athletic Brewing Company. And they're a non-alcoholic beer.
Oh, okay.
And they actually do a proper brewing process where they brew it to like 0.05%.
Okay, so just basically so
yeah, so it's not like you're drinking beer flavored water. Like their beers actually have like a nice head to them. and they actually taste like a beer. So like right now,
Okay.
like I just polished off a apricot. It's their apricot farmhouse,
Okay.
which is decent. And then I've really been into on this most recent order, I got their raspberry sour, and that's actually quite good.
Nice. That's awesome, man. On the opposite end of the spectrum, I have been not trying to drink nearly as much. I mean, I have a few beers here and there, but I've been drinking some from Hollander lately. The grapefruit something something. It's like 2.5%. So this is not really that alcoholic anyway. But been picking these up from Costco because they have a 4-pack at normal stores is like $10. Costco has a 24-pack for $24.
Not bad.
So I go through that and been sipping on those on occasion. They're nice to have, with breakfast. They got that little bit of fruity hint and a nice little okay to your day. Kind of one of those deals. I don't condone drinking before 10 a.m., but some days on the weekends, why not? It's like a mimosa, but less orange juice.
Well, that's a one thing that they had that I got into, but they only do it limited time. I think they do it like a couple times a year.
It's not bad.
It's their chelada that they do.
Ooh, those are come and go for me.
Oh, it's so
Depends
good.
on how much I'm hanging out with my sister-in-law. She drinks those and
It's so good, but like they only do it a couple times a year. I'm like, just like do it all year. Like I will keep them in stock. Like I will be constantly buying them because like when those are in stock, like that's how I start my morning half the time.
Oh, there you go.
Like they're
That's not
so
a bad way to
good.
do it.
So yeah, like they just did a run. I was like, oh, like
So
just finished
close.
it. They like just finished it. And it's like I kept myself in stock for like a good like couple months. And it was
There you
like,
go.
oh, now it's gone.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much these. Like, I don't drink at all. Like, me and the wife maybe we'll do a shot once every like couple weeks of James. I get like bottles of alcohol, like bottles of whiskey for my birthday. The last like 3 years. Brother-in-law does it. My
Yeah.
sister-in-law gets it. My parents have gotten me some. So I got like 6 bottles of
Oh,
whiskey
wow.
just sitting in my cabinet, just collecting dust because we'll have a shot, maybe 2 shots, once every couple weeks. I think we finally finished off a bottle from like 2020 or 2021. We just finished it off like 2 months ago.
Mhm.
So I've got like 5 more. I'm like, okay, which one am I going through now? I need to tell the family, like, stop buying me whiskey. As much as I love whiskey, I don't drink whiskey as much as you think I do. I think my family thinks I'm just this raging alcoholic who just works and drinks, which yes, but no. All I drink is caffeine excessively. I have a subscription now to Bones Coffee Company where I get 3 different bags of coffee delivered to my house every 3 weeks. Not an ad, by the way. Although if Bones is listening and you want to endorse me or endorse the show, I'm totally down for it.
Well, yeah, I always see their mugs.
Oh, dude, they're coffee.
And
Like, so
I'm
good stuff.
very tempted to order their cold brews. Like they have that
Oh.
s'mores, and then they have like what is it,
Yeah.
one of the breakfast cereal ones.
Yeah, the Electric Unicorn,
Yeah.
man, it's one of my favorites.
So
That
I'm-
stuff, it's fruity pebbles, dude. It's
Well,
fantastic. I
yeah,
love
so
it.
I'm very curious about it. Like I've almost bought a Keurig just to get their stuff because I'm too like I can never get in a good enough habit with a regular coffee maker to like keep it clean.
Oh,
Like,
man,
I'm
like,
so bad with those. But
It is my daily routine. Like I have coffee in the morning. I have like 2. Like this is I blame my job for this now. I am a straight caffeine fiend. Like I will drink 2 to 3 cups of coffee by 11 o'clock. 11:30, 12 o'clock rolls around. I'll try to sneak in 15 minutes for lunch. I used to have a recurring Amazon subscription to different forms of Rockstar energy drink. I had like the zero sugar, the regular. I'm looking at my stockpile behind me. I had like a zero sugar, the regular, and then like this strawberry peach one of like a 24-pack, like $16 on Subscribe and Save on Amazon. So I was basically like $1 per,
Yeah.
$1.10 per. Just I drink so much. Caffeine,
it's
ridiculous.
been a good almost 2 years now since I had any energy drinks.
Dude, I'm trying to go cold turkey and like wean them off. This is like the end of my subscription. I'm just gonna straight go coffees. That's why I've upped my subscription to Bones from like 1 bag every 2 weeks to 3 bags every 3 weeks now. So to see where it goes, just to offset that. But like, if I stopped drinking caffeine, and I blame this on children and my job, is that if I stopped, the collective caffeine headache would probably kill me at this point in time.
Yeah, I cheated on getting off energy drinks. I had a gallbladder go bad.
Yeah, that definitely necessitates that. And
Yeah,
you gotta,
one 4-hour gallbladder attack will get you dropping
changing your tune on
anything that could cause another attack real quick.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm at the point of, everyone's like, oh, those will kill you. I'm like, everything's gonna kill me someday. I might as well enjoy the time that I have now. I'm mid late 30s as we speak. Is what's gonna be. It's all gonna fall apart someday eventually. I might as well enjoy the ride now. There's no point in like, oh, but what about when you're older? That's gonna suck. I'm gonna go anyway, and my body's gonna fall apart. My whole I grew up playing sports for 20 years. It's all already wrecked. I'm at that mid stage of like, I'll probably need surgery on my shoulder or on my knees in the next 10 years. So I might as well enjoy it now while I still can. And if it means that my heart has a higher heart rate and everything else, it offsets when I work out, and so be it. Whatever. We're gonna die anyway. I might as well enjoy the ride to get there. So that's kind of where I'm at. So
I have gotten back into reading though.
oh, okay. Nice. That's a good habit to have
Mhm.
in this digital age we've immersed ourselves into in the last couple of years. What are you diving into these days?
Well, I did do a reread of The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings,
Very nice,
and
very solid.
people complained about how the Return of the King had like an ending, then an ending, then another ending.
Oh yeah.
I'd forgotten that the book was way worse about that,
Oh,
in
the
that
book
it
is
had
like 6 endings.
like an ending, and then another ending, and then another ending, and then
The
another
last
ending,
third
and
of that
another
book is ending.
ending.
Yeah, it's just endings. It's just like, come on, just where it ends here. Nope, just it's like the Black Dahlia, that movie with Josh Hart and all them. Like, I think it was Black Dahlia. I don't know. It was the only movie I've ever walked out of in theaters because it didn't it just kept ending and then not ending, and it's just like, stop. But yeah, I get that. Yeah, that book, I read that in high school, and it's just like, oh, cool, the last 200 pages. Oh, here's the end. What's all the rest? Oh, the end. And
The end. The end.
the end. So it finally gets to the end, and you're like, okay, are there like 50 pages going to pop up out of nowhere because, hey, you unlocked the ending of the end?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not, I love those books, but I had forgotten, like, oh, yeah, there's all this other stuff. Because, it's like the last time I engaged with that story was the movies. So,
Yeah.
it's like the way, and they did a really, such a good job. Like, and there's certain stuff that's like, okay, as I encountered it, was like, okay, when you get to all the stuff with Tom Bombadil, and it's like, oh, yeah, I remember they cut all that out. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I remember the big deal about that. No one was complaining about, like, the endings they left out. like,
Yeah, no,
like
they
the only
did a
other
good
thing I
job
ever
of.
remember, like, a lot of people talking about was, like, that they cut out Tom Bombadil. And like, okay, sure. Like, that section in the book is cool and all, but I can see why they cut it out of the movies.
Yeah, it's not necessary to the whole, and it would have been like very shoehorned in because the rest
Yeah.
of it like had nothing talked about it, no reference, and nothing. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, hey, we're doing it. Just it, no,
Yeah.
it would have been shoehorned. It felt very forced.
Yeah, so I mean, so that was kind of my starting point. And so now I have moved on. I've decided that I want to start dipping my toe into the new Star Wars canon a bit.
Okay.
So I am halfway through the first book in the High Republic cycle.
Nice. I've heard mixed things about those.
Yeah, a lot of the people who are more on the side of trashing it, I don't think actually have read it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because when I was first seeing stuff about it, and it was also kind of at the same time I was kind of becoming more hyper aware of the kind of anger grifters of news culture.
Oh yeah,
Or
which is pretty much everybody.
nerd news
But yeah.
culture, nerd culture.
Either way.
And they were just clowning on it and you name it, they had a catchphrase for it. They were making fun of character designs, things like that. And so I'm about halfway through, maybe a little over halfway through the first book.
Okay.
And within the first clump of chapters, it's very clear that these people who are complaining about it and knocking it whole cloth have not read it, because it starts with a disaster that is unlike anything I've seen in Star Wars.
Okay.
Probably the closest thing you could probably point to it is in Last Jedi, when Holdo uses the
the ship to fight through the
puts the ship
one
into
of the
hyperspeed.
coolest scenes I've seen in a movie in
Yeah.
a long time. So
Yeah, that's probably the closest I've seen in Star Wars to what happens at the beginning of this book.
Okay.
But I mean, it's like tense. It is like super tense through those chapters that's describing this event. Just trying to kind of stay spoiler free, but I mean, it's just a lot of like super tense chapters, just boom, 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 back to back.
Okay.
And now I'm kind of in the like mystery phase of it, where like the Jedi are trying to figure out what happened, what caused it, and then you're kind of going over to the bad guys and kind of seeing what they're doing, and kind of learning more about their motivation and all that. So you're kind of in this. I'm kind of in the lull part of the book, because it's kind of slowed down. And I mean, if I was going to complain about anything, that would be probably my only complaint, is that it starts out so intense that when you get to this middle part, it feels like it drags a little bit, but it's still very engaging, because you're at least still progressing the story forward, and you're learning all this new stuff. Because a lot of the stuff, character-wise, especially like the villains, are basically these kind of almost like berserkers in space. Because it's like, yeah, they're space pirates, but to me, they're like, because they're called the Nile.
Okay.
And to me, I liken them more to berserkers, because they're very much more kind of chaos, because they like go in to like raid these ships and stuff, but they just pull them apart. I mean, they're very much like leave no prisoners behind kind of thing. So it's not even like piracy, where it's like, okay, we're going to steal the boat and off we go and all this kind of stuff. They're like just, they're pulling ships apart by like hooks and stuff. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty hardcore right there.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, they've got kind of a cool design if you look at any of the comic books. They all wear masks, and they're just kind of a neat new thing comparative to the normal kind of smugglers and bounty hunters, and kind of the more the more traditional Star Wars underworld element.
Okay. No, that sounds pretty legit. I mean, yeah, I mean, some people I've seen were just trashing on it for like, oh, it doesn't do this, or doesn't have this, or doesn't, but that.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it sounds like they're just getting too in the it needs lightsabers.
Well, it's not even
Jedi,
it's not even that, because I mean, it's got plenty. I mean, it's all circuits. It's all around the Jedi.
Okay.
I mean, it's a very Jedi-centric story, because it's about the High Republic, where the Jedi were kind of at the peak of their powers.
Okay.
Before the cloak of the dark side starts to kind of cloud their abilities, leading into the Phantom Menace, because it's a couple hundred years before Phantom Menace.
Okay, yeah, so we're still like,
so you're
prime
like
Jedi.
peak, yeah, prime Jedi. No, I mean, a lot of these anger grifters are kind of the same complaints, because you do a little digging and you find that, where a lot of their politics lie. So, you have, female Jedi with certain kinds of haircuts, and then it's just like, woke this, woke that. And
that whole thing is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's just throwing a word at something because you don't understand.
Well, and I mean, and it's, Like, I don't even know what that means in relation to this story because there's nothing in there that's like shoving anything even remotely socio-political into your face, other than the fact that it's got a diverse cast, which to me reflects badly on you.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. It's like,
if you're
okay,
just
that's
looking at the fact that there's Jedi that are not white
like, this guy's
dudes,
orange.
it's
We don't like that.
like
This guy's blue. We don't like that. Yeah. It's like, come on.
you're if you're futzing at their hairdo in the concept art, it's like it reflects more badly on you than it does the people writing the book. Or the quality of the book, because you clearly haven't read it, because I don't know how anyone who claims to be a Star Wars fan does not read through those first few chapters and is like, oh my god, this is cool. As somebody
Yeah,
who
no,
has
that
been
sounds
watching Star Wars since 1977, you
Right.
know,
It's not so much about the look. It's more about the overall feel and what they're trying to convey. I mean, that's the biggest thing. It's like,
yeah.
does it build the world? Does it fit the world? Cool. That's awesome. Let's do it. It's not a matter of does it fit my own personal agenda. It's like, who cares about your personal agenda? It's a movie.
People need to unplug.
show, whatever.
Touch grass.
Right? Kick
Yeah,
rocks,
I mean,
alright.
if you got people who are just sitting there and, like I said, it's not that it's like a perfect book. I mean, like I said, it's got a little bit of a pacing hiccup so far because of the fact that it's so intense in the first batch of chapters, and then you get to kind of the middle, and it kind of lulls down into this, the more mystery part of the story where they're trying to figure out what happened and why and all that.
Right. But that's
But-
not pacing. That's not story.
Well, it's pacing, but I mean, also in a lot of ways, that's almost kind of a very Star Wars pacing. I mean, you look at most Star Wars movies, and they start with like a big bombastic battle, then it just chills out for a bit,
Mhm.
and then it picks back
Builds
up
the
in the
rest
end.
of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of
Yeah.
traditional Star Wars there.
Right. So they're following the meat and potatoes of what's got them this far. So
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying it. I mean, I think that a lot of people should give it a try, because I do think that they're exploring a timeline we haven't really explored before, which is also greatly appreciated.
yeah, absolutely.
So I would definitely. So far, like I said, I'm halfway through, and so far with what I've read, I would definitely recommend it. Now,
Nice.
check back in an episode or two after I've finished it, and I might be singing a different tune.
Right, but
I kind of doubt that,
Oh
but
yeah, no, I get you there.
I mean, it's very rare that I get this far into a book and I'm enjoying it, that I get to the latter half of the book and I'm like, oh.
About that,
Yeah, so,
I get that.
but yeah, so,
I get that.
but also with Star Wars, they announced 3 new movies.
Yes, I was excited on that. They're doing what, a Mandalorian, Rey, and then Rey's the last one, and then they have like super pre High Republic or something like that.
Yeah.
Started.
So it's they're breaking it into eras. The Dawn of the Jedi, which is 25,000 years before the movies.
So yeah, so that's a couple years before
Yeah.
everything happened. That's like start of it all.
Well, and there is a book called Dawn of the Jedi in the old expanded universe that deals with that.
Okay, so they're still staying within.
So it's kind of
realm.
the beginnings of the Jedi, the Sith, how they were kind of one thing and then started fracturing and breaking off, and
Just everything. Okay.
yeah, and then with that one, it's going to be James Mangold. So Ford versus Ferrari, the new Indiana Jones, Logan.
2 out of 3 so far on that one. I've heard mixed things of the new Indiana Jones that it looks
Yeah.
good, but the story's kind of.
But as with any of these things, when
I know.
they
You also have a
bring 'em back,
75-year-old
they're
action star in
never
that,
going to
so.
hold up to what the originals were.
No.
Like,
Because also those originals were from the 80s. That was 40 years ago.
yeah.
Harrison Ford was pre-retirement
Well,
age.
I'm not one of these people who absolutely hated Crystal Skull. Is it flawed? Is it as good as the first three? No. Is it fine? Yeah, it's fine. It's
It's got its
entertaining. It's
moments.
okay. Is there
I mean, the
some dumb
giant swarm of
stuff
ants
in
was
there?
kind of the monkeys, but you know.
Well, the monkeys is the worst part. Like, I'm not even one of these people who
Yeah.
gets mad about the nuking the fridge thing. Goofy.
See, I'm not
yeah,
a
but I
fan of the
don't-
nuke the fridge, but I mean, I understand. But it was like, oh, okay, he's Indiana Jones. Oh, okay. Like I remember watching theaters, and like I collectively remember half the theater went, oh, at that moment. I was like, okay.
But yeah,
I see what
I
you're
don't.
doing.
I like. It's not as bad of a movie as people make it out to be.
I haven't seen it in 10 years, so I'd have to go back and refresh. I've seen more of it via South Park, and
Right.
their
Oh, yeah.
rendition of it than I have of Crystal Skull in recent memory. So
Yeah,
I have to refresh myself on exactly.
Like I said, I mean, I will withhold judgment on Dial of Destiny till I see it. Did we need it? No. Is it gonna be fine? Yeah, it's gonna be fine.
Right.
But yeah, he's doing that one. Then they're calling it the New Republic, and that's going to be Dave Filoni, who's given
That's the
us
Mando.
Clone Wars and Rebels and Mandalorian, and
Yeah.
so
That's the one I'm most excited about because that one, like they have done, like Jon Favreau and the Mandalorian crew and all them. Not that they saved Star Wars, but they definitely fixed the path
well,
that kind of got muddied with the J.J. Abrams, not J.J. Abrams trilogy. That just was like,
Yeah.
oh look, we're doing the same stuff over again with new people, but we suck at doing it
well,
because
well,
that whole
it's-
trilogy is just,
well,
it was okay.
that well, we can dive into that in a minute, but I mean, Dave Filoni's been the most consistent
Yes.
quality
agree
wise,
to that.
but I think he's also been able to operate in a way like him and Favreau have been able to operate in a way that is the most kind of on their own with the least amount of interference.
Yeah, because they don't have like they didn't really start the universe tie-in until like the second season.
Mhm.
The Darksaber and stuff, but 95% of people went, "Oh, black lightsaber, what is that?" Like, only the hardcore people were like, "Oh, we know what that is."
Mhm.
You know, and that tie-in. Then obviously season 2 was a lot more with Ahsoka and Luke and just and everything else that they tied in, and then obviously Boba Fett was even more so that they did. But still, like season 2 kind of started bringing in the rest of the world after the fact,
Right.
and obviously season 3 was like, "Oh, you're a part of this world now. Here's everything else." You know, Bo-Katan from Clone Wars and everything before was a nice tie-in, but like, it was more. They have the most free reign because only the hardcore people were really into it. You know, because I mean, not that Clone Wars was bad or anything, but most people went, "Oh, it's not the live
Yeah,
action.
a lot
it's
of people,
cartoon, it's for
except for a
kids."
lot of
So just
hardcore
wrote it off.
Star Wars fans, dip out on the cartoons. Like your
Yeah, which, I mean,
casuals
I get it.
generally probably haven't watched as probably many episodes, if any, of the animated shows.
No, I haven't. I'll be honest. I haven't watched that or Bad Batch or anything. So I'm just like, oh, okay, it's a thing. I mean, I've watched a couple of the episodes, and like the Darth Maul fight scene in the last season was amazing. But I haven't watched. I couldn't tell you anything about any of the shows themselves, the individual episodes. So
Yeah, so I mean that one. Well, and that one seems to be shaping up to being some kind of hodgepodge of the Zahn books.
yeah,
Heir to the
there's some stuff
Empire,
coming up, yeah.
Dark Force Rising, Last Command. So sold.
Yeah, I'm in.
I'm
like
in.
The minute they said Thrawn, or they
Yeah.
alluded to him, I was like, no way, they're making it happen. You know, because I knew about Thrawn. I read the books as a kid, so I was aware of Thrawn and all the madness and
Mhm.
everything else after there. So when they hinted at that, I went, okay, and then they kept like saying, and then they finally dropped and like, oh, well, Thrawn, and it went, oh, they are full on going for it. So I was excited at that. So they have a lot of potential there. And I mean, obviously, they've done a very good job of building it. I just hope they don't rush the end of it.
Yeah, I don't
That's
think
the
so.
biggest thing.
And then they're doing the post-sequel movie, which is the New Jedi Order, which will be Rey starting up a new Jedi Academy, and all the problems that go with that, which obviously sounds very much like the Kevin J. Anderson books. which I also really liked and are on my reread list. I still need to pick up the other two Zahn books so I can reread those, just so that they're fresh in my head by the time these movies come out.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that one's going to have the hardest hill to climb because it was the new trilogy, and
it's
that was so. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I kind of like, whatever. It's Star Wars, but it wasn't. They had a great concept, and then it kind of fell flat because again, J.J. Abrams, and then everyone else kind of, and then J.J. Abrams come
I
back in. And
can't even necessarily blame JJ on that. So
I put the blame solely on JJ. He's too much of a look. Like he can't end a movie. He can't write a convincing middle. It's just like, oh, here, just go off nostalgia. Like he sucked at Lost. All that he did there, with Jennifer Garner show, it was like okay. Then like ending just fell flat. Like he
definitely
but then
can't.
it just
He definitely can't end. His endings are notoriously bad. I will give that caveat right there. I don't really put 100% of the blame on JJ on this, and I'll tell you why. JJ Abrams did not want to come back for this. He did not want to do the third movie. They coaxed him back, so he did it out of kind of a sense of obligation. I mean, and I've read interview things where he's talked about how he originally did not want to come back and do the third movie. This was, one, they didn't have a concrete outline plan. That's Disney's fault. That's Disney's fault. They scrapped George's outline. They wanted to go their own way. Fine, whatever. It's their property now. They can do as they will. I think that's shooting themselves in the foot.
Oh, 100%. And it showed.
But whatever. Okay, that's it. That's the path they chose, not to do what George had in mind. They never put an outline together. So they started with the first movie, then had the second director come in with Ryan, let him do his own thing. Now, those two movies, even as much as it is subverting a lot of expectations with where that movie was going to go, those two movies still, for the most part, flow really well together.
Yeah, I would agree.
And there's a lot of cool stuff in Last Jedi.
Oh, God, yes.
And there's a lot of stuff that I think people wag a big finger at, but they're missing great points about the Star Wars universe. Like a lot of people complain about the Canto Bight stuff. But one of the best scenes in Star Wars, when they're flying out from Canto Bight with Benicio del Toro's character, was it DJ?
Yeah, something like that.
Is giving his spiel to them about the arms dealers at Canto Bight and how they're selling to the Republic and the First Order. And the Resistance.
Yeah, he's like, oh, it doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who it is. They're war profiteers. They're selling to everybody, which is one of the coolest bits of like in universe. Like, oh, like that's something we never really thought about. Like, wait,
right.
Obviously people are selling to the Empire. Obviously people are selling stuff to the Rebel Alliance.
Rebels, yeah.
You never thought, like, wait, who's selling this to both sides? Like, you don't even think about it. You think about
they contract out people on boats. Like, no, there's people who make.
Yeah,
this.
you think about it from the stance of like maybe they're going out and stealing the stuff, and it's like no, that like they're buying arms, and it's the same thing with like that crystallized that point. That there are planets and things in there that we've never really addressed, like Canto Bight, where it's all these rich people who are just profiting off of all this chaos between these two feuding systems of universal governance, essentially.
They don't care which side they're on. Whoever pays the most is that's what they're up for. So.
Yeah, and then if you look at the treatment for what the final movie was supposed to be.
Oh, I'm so
With
bummed about
what,
that. See, I haven't read the trailer versus what it became.
Colin Trevorrow had for his episode 9, which was going to be called Duel of the Fates. That plays off of Rian Johnson's extremely well.
I know.
But
That would have fit perfectly. Like, and that's why I blame
two,
J.J.
well,
Abrams.
but here's the thing. 2 things happened. One we know is that's when the anger grifters really started in on Star Wars and started trashing Last Jedi. Like mercilessly, just trashing Last Jedi. So Disney
unloaded.
already was getting cold feet. But then there was a little movie that Colin Trevorrow did called The Book of Henry that ate shit. It got released. It bombed. It bombed hard. Like it was listed as one of the worst movies released. Like it was bad. I've never watched it because I heard it was just terrible. And Disney got cold feet, scrapped him, went with giant Scrooge McDuck bags of money to J.J. Abrams to coax him back to finish the trilogy. And it was basically like, we aren't doing this. And we got what we got.
So well written. Like, it would have, like, with that treatment that I've read on it, it would have been so good having more of that Finn and the clone, the Stormtrooper War and all that. You know, more of like it would have been so good.
Yeah, it felt properly epic for a closeout of this trilogy. You had, more of Kylo Ren's descent. There was cool lore stuff in there with the Sith. And without having to resort to Palpatine. And, kind of the first time of them really, truly cannibalizing the EU for something. Or the old EU.
Making it their own, yeah.
With the whole Palpatine embodying a clone of himself and the Force Storm that he does, which is out of the comics. The old EU Dark Horse comics. So I don't put it all on JJ. I put it a lot on Disney getting cold feet because they listen to a bunch of shitheads on YouTube.
And Twitter.
and Twitter. And then got cold feet on a guy who was putting out all these $1 billion Jurassic Park sequels. But because he did one bad movie, went, oh no. So,
it was in bad taste. And that's kind of thing what soured it to like myself as far as like, it's like J.J. Abrams, like, especially after the fact of reading the treatment they had, it's like he had gold.
I don't think they let him. I don't think they were going to let him use any of that, though.
That's why they should have brought a Colin Trevorrow side of it and be like, "Hey, we like the concept, but we don't think you're going to be able to do it. Here's money. Go away."
Well, I mean, basically that's what they had to do. He was contracted, but because they got such cold feet, they didn't use any of that stuff.
Which I mean, and that's.
I mean, they kind of used a little bit of it with the ex-stormtroopers that Finn run into on Endor.
Cantina. But yeah, no, it's so minimal in there.
Yeah, it's like extremely minimal, and
again, it's just such a mess.
But even that movie, for all of its flaws, it's fine. Is it a great ending to it? No.
You're nicer to it than I am.
I've seen way worse endings to trilogies than that.
Oh God, yes. But I mean, in terms of like
Halloween ends.
Yeah, we won't get into that one. That was a disappointment and a half. But yeah, but in terms of like just throw money at it to make it good.
But the thing is,
they threw money at it and made it worse.
Well, the thing is, though, is that Rise of Skywalker does not make retroactively Force Awakens and Last Jedi worse movies. The way Halloween Ends makes it impossible to move beyond a rewatch of Halloween 2018 because
Yeah,
it
I've heard bad
negates
things.
everything that happens in Halloween Ends. And so it's just like you watch Halloween or Halloween Kills, and then you move on to Halloween Ends, and it just like wipes everything. And you're just like,
Yeah.
what, huh? So, look, I'm not saying that Rise of Skywalker is the best Star Wars movie ever. No. It's definitely at the bottom of my list. But it's not the trash fire people make it out to be. There's
No, but it's
still a lot
definitely
of neat and cool stuff in there. There's still a lot of good, entertaining stuff in there. It's a cop out of an ending, but it's not terrible. It's not the trash that people make it out to be.
yeah. I mean, they could have done better, but they could have done
So-
much worse. It's like it's cold pizza.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm at least I'm not as soured on a new Ray movie as a lot of the people who are really grumpy about it are.
I get that. So I don't know, man. Like that one I think is going to be the hardest received. I mean, Mandalorian is gonna be great. I mean,
it's got the
at the
biggest
same
hill
time,
to
though, I
climb.
mean, it's going to be tough to. It's going to be tough to sell stuff that doesn't
Well,
have.
it's got the
giant
biggest
hook.
hill to it's got the biggest hill to climb because it's got a baked in the cake opposition force all over YouTube that are making
Oh, yeah.
money off of being an opposition force to a movie of all goddamn things.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean, I think it's gonna be easier to sell the High Republic movie than it will be that one, just because, again, it doesn't have that YouTube base of this character isn't good and good, it's bad from the trilogy, and that's their standing point.
if I was able to give the people at Lucasfilm any kind of advice at all,
Quit while you're ahead.
no, it would be don't listen to idiots on the internet. They aren't these aren't serious people. These aren't real people. These are people who make a lot of money on rage clicks. And you can choose to get suckered into it, or you can just go mute.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, because I've watched some of these guys' stuff, and it's the same stuff over and over and over and over again.
I don't like it. I'm angry. You should be angry too because I'm angry. Oh, by the way, click on this link to go to my ad page and look at
All the
that.
while
Oh,
selling
that's
merchandise, riffing off of the thing that they're getting mad about, and it's like it's a total grift.
I'm mad. You
And
be mad.
you
You
would
buy my shirt
think-
that says I'm mad. Yeah, it's
You would think that $1 billion corporation would know better than to listen to stuff like that, but no. I mean, first rule of the internet: don't read the comments. Second rule of the internet: don't feed the trolls.
first rule of good business. Don't listen to your accountants. Second rule of good business. Ignore your accountants. Third rule of business. Accountants are the devil. Don't pay attention to them. Just make sure that your company is profitable.
Yeah.
But don't listen to your accountants.
No, I mean it's just
Accountants have destroyed the world we live in. I can't stand
well, I
it. I
mean,
deal with them constantly.
it's just it's one of those things. They have to give the confidence to their creators. They can't be of all the things to second guess your creators. Like, God, not the internet, please, not
Oh yeah,
internet comments.
accountants are the worst. They're
YouTube.
the most unoriginal, boring, just
Yeah,
waste
like-
of career people. They have no imagination. They just live in a world of numbers. And this is positive, this is negative. They destroy fun. They
Yeah.
destroy entertainment. They destroy anything.
No,
Like,
Disney's
that's why
response.
everything right now is boring.
Dis-
It's all about accountants.
No, Disney's response to the people throwing a fit over The Last Jedi should have been to dive into the $1 billion it made, like Scrooge McDuck, and just let the third movie play out.
Yeah, you should have. But
But yeah, I'm excited for them. I'm curious to see what they do with them. They seem like they're kind of dipping into the old EU and mining it for ideas, which they should have in the first place.
I agree with that. I agree. So, but then, then you flip the script there to the other end of the world of listening to public opinion versus not listening to public opinion. You have got the recent gaming convention releases, gaming.
The not
Con,
the not E3 virtual E3.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
PlayStation
cutting out the
and,
middleman.
the Sony and the Microsoft, the Xbox versus
Uh,
PlayStation ones that you had that were staggered by what 2 weeks? 2 weeks in between.
About that,
two.
yeah.
One did okay. One did really well. Basically, in a nutshell, for the uninitiated, Sony went first, and they said, "Hey, we've got all this. Here's a look at all these games. You can play all these." And then immediately afterwards, like the whole thing, it was an okay showing. I caught
Yeah,
highlights.
it was. It was. Most of the stuff was stuff we already knew about, so it was just kind of
Right?
like
I mean, the
okay.
most exciting thing out of it was Metal Gear
Yeah, the Metal
Solid
Gear
Delta
Yeah,
3, Snake Eater remake.
and the collection,
which-
the
Yes.
1, 2, and
Man.
3.
Those are fantastic. Metal Gear Solid 3 is one of my favorite games of all time. So I was like, oh, cool. That they're getting $70 off me. No big deal. They had all those. They released all those. It's like, all right, cool. Aside from that, nothing major, nothing crazy. No Resident Evil 9, no
hmm
DLC for Resident Evil 4. Kind of a miss, all that good stuff. And even then, I was hoping for a Capcom one later and still did get nothing out of
Mhm.
that. So bummer on them.
Yeah.
And you had Final Fantasy 7, Rebirth announcement, which looks really good. I mean, but again, you have a caked in like cult following with myself included in that. Just Final Fantasy 7, just open
Yeah,
my
that's-
bank
that's
account. Here's
right
my
there,
account number.
yeah.
Have fun. Kind of those. But other than that, like there was not much on
Yeah,
there.
I mean they did a little bit on Final Fantasy 16, which I played the demo of.
I still have to. I've been playing too much Gran Turismo. I have a sim rig now, and I've been playing that
Tight,
nonstop.
super linear.
I've heard that, but like, I've
But-
heard that like there's no open world to 16,
No.
but the battles and everything else
No,
outweigh that.
the
I've
controls are tight. The controls are like the battle system is real tight, and
it's
got
on my
lock
list to
on.
play.
It's got lock on.
Okay, I am more involved than
like
Kingdom Hearts,
like,
kind of, sort of.
oh, like for those kind of games, man, like a good lock on system is so nice.
15 was good, but yeah, it did have kind of a miss in terms of.
Oh God, yeah, I tapped out on 15. I just that
It was good
I
until you
get-
get to the Leviathan battle, and then it just all.
I didn't even
fell
get
apart.
that far. I just there's nothing worse to me than sluggish, delayed, laggy control, and the battling,
that.
the fighting in that because it clearly was not intended to be an action RPG, and then they were like, it's an action RPG now, and
it-
boy, they needed to tighten that up because.
Yeah, it wasn't. I battled. I mean, I played it.
But
I thought it was. I tried to look past the flaws, but I
Yeah.
beat it and everything. All right, cool. I put a lot of time into it, but then I went back and replayed it.
they nailed the combat in 16.
Nice.
But I get the complaints that like this is really not really a Final Fantasy game. It's
It might. The story though, like when you might get into it, and it might become more of it. But like, well, what else? Didn't have, like 12 didn't have open world. I think 12. The non-online one. I think it was 12. Yeah, that one didn't have.
I never played 12.
That was very linear. That's the only one I've.
Well, 13.
Only one I bought that I never.
13
beat.
was also
kind
linear.
of did, but it wasn't until way late in the game, and that's what shot it in the foot. And then they made like 2 sequels that had nothing to do with it, which were really
Yeah,
dumb.
but
But-
yeah, I mean it's from what I played of the demo, it's super linear. From the design and look of it, it really doesn't look like a lot of the. There's no real traditional Final Fantasy-ish design aesthetic to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it's very Souls-like.
which
in the
is a
design.
blessing and a curse, but it's like
I-
that's the thing is like I bought Elden Ring. I played all this. I played a couple of Soul games. I don't like them. I have tried to like them. I've just been like, hey, and it just never sticks. Like,
Yeah, I enjoyed Elden Ring until I didn't.
yeah, I'm right there with you. It was just
That's my take on Souls like. It's like I enjoyed it until I didn't. Like
the only thing good that has come out of this Dark Souls and Elden Ring and Bloodborne and all that universe from Software is that they now have the money to just throw out an Armored Core and not care.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I've been saying it for how many years? I want a new Armored Core game, and we finally have it.
Yeah,
and
there
I'm
was
so excited for it.
yeah. I mean, that was absent from the Sony.
Yeah, there was nothing
Yeah.
on that. They have a trailer, I think that they put out like a week or 2 weeks before, and that
Mhm.
was it. No talk of that. It's like, guys, giant fighting robots. You have the chance to turn around a whole genre.
Yeah, most of
It's been
the
long forgotten.
yeah. I mean, most of the stuff with the Sony presentation was a lot of stuff that we already knew about.
Yeah, nothing exciting. Nothing like, oh my god.
Yeah,
nothing
no
like that.
Wolverine.
Right.
Nothing on the
Spider-Man 2,
KOTOR
but
remake, which
new Spider-Man 2.
nothing on the KOTOR remake, which I'm hearing may be canceled,
Yeah,
which is a damn shame.
Right. But I mean, at the same time, though, on that you have the Outlaws game now, the Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah.
So
So
we can only
yeah,
get
that gets
too
us over
mad about
to
that.
the Xbox presentation,
Yeah,
which was, to quote Sheamus from WWE, banger after banger after banger, like
yeah.
new
But also
Forza
the thing that they set the stage
Fable.
was like within an hour after the Sony release,
Mhm.
Microsoft tweeted, "Oh, that's cool. Check out what we've got too." And they have the exact same lineup of games.
Yeah.
That Sony's like, "Oh, look what we can do," and then Microsoft's like, "That's cool. We can't do." Just absolute, just kick to the jaw of like, "Oh, they're not exclusive. They're on our system too." And so that just set the stage. Like whoever like had the release on that and sat on it until like an hour afterwards, bravo.
Yeah, that was
You are the pettiest of the
yeah,
petty.
like that was a
goddamn
level of
humans.
petty where it's like I turned into Mills Lane and was just like, I'll allow it.
Oh yeah, that was just so like, just like, oh, that's cool. We got that too. And like, it's literally the dude who shows up at the bar. He's like, oh man, look at my new truck. Look at this. And the guy pulls up he's got the red one, and the guy pulled up in the blue, and the exact same one. Oh yeah, that's cool. You got that too. Hey, look, and he's totally nonchalant about it. That was exactly how that whole plays out. So, bravo to them for that beautiful pettiness.
Yeah.
But yeah, that set the stage for the Xbox release or the Xbox showing.
Mhm.
I know you were watching that
Yeah.
live. I kind of caught bits and pieces here and there. The biggest one out of that I have gathered, which the internet is a buzz for, Starfield.
Oh yeah, Starfield looks so good.
So here's my take on Starfield.
Mhm.
Again, I don't have an Xbox. It's Xbox exclusive, right? It's not anywhere else.
PC.
Okay, not yet. I'm on the list for PC. I got to build my gaming PC for my sim racing, my latest obsession. But I'll probably do it to build up to there. But that's neither here nor there. Is that it's the combat and the exploration. I get a lot of No Man's Sky and Mass Effect Andromeda, which one of which turned out really well, and the other one was a giant flaming space turd. So I mean that's the vibe I get off it right away, and then it looks like it's running on an updated version of like the Fallout engine. So it's like, okay, how many bugs are we gonna have? How many floating T bodies are we gonna, T poses are we gonna see out of all this? Yeah, they locked it at 30 FPS, which is not worrisome. But at the same time, they should have the option to go 60 FPS. They should at least give like the graphics or frame rate option.
It's locked on 30 on console.
Yeah, but I mean, they're gonna unlock it on like PC. You got to build like a $2,000-$3,000 PC to be able to do stuff on there. That's the thing. Is that like the Series X should be able to play it at least? Like, why don't what would have been great if they did is unlock a 45 or like a 48 FPS.
Well,
in between, it's not 60, it's not 30, but it has.
I will take consistency of experience over frame rate any day. Because here's the thing. If you're not playing a competitive shooter, what's it matter? You know what I mean? Like, you're playing against AI bots. That extra few frames ain't going to do nothing for you. Because you're not playing against somebody who might have a rig that is spec'd out to run the game you're playing against them on at 120 frames per second. You know what I mean? You're playing against AI in a story-based, story-driven game based around exploration. Like 30 frames a second is just fine. It's just fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that people get so people get so lost in this frame rate bro stuff. I mean, this is why I dipped out on PC gamers as a whole for the longest time,
Yeah.
because I got so annoyed with them being more worried about tech specs than whether the game they were playing was any fun, whether it was
Oh, dude,
enjoyable.
yeah, no, they're still that bad. Some PC people are like, "Oh, I can do this at 125 FPS."
Yeah.
It's like, congratulations.
I'm not making
You're,
excuses.
you're playing Minecraft. I don't care about Minecraft at 180 FPS.
Right.
Congratulations.
Well,
You can see those blocks faster.
and here's the thing. Like, I'm not making excuses for the condition in which games launch these days. Like, I'm not about to make excuses for why Redfall launched the way that it did. But having played Redfall for quite a bit until I finally just kind of tapped out on it because I just got bored with it after a while,
You get that?
it was fine. If you're playing it single player. I didn't play it multiplayer because I don't do a lot of multiplayer. The most multiplayer thing I do is I play Fortnite, because it's the only kind of competitive shooter I actually have fun with. Because I can actually,
makes sense.
it's set up in a way that I can occasionally hold my own and win a game, as opposed to something like, say, a COD.
I get that.
Or
That's
Halo.
just so many like Twitch bros.
Yeah.
on there
So like,
going to town screaming at you,
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, subscribe to my stuff, bro!"
Yeah.
Just doing stupid
so, I'm more about, is the game I'm playing enjoyable? Is it enjoyable? Am I enjoying the story? Am I enjoying the gameplay? Am I enjoying the exploration? Because if I'm not, I don't care if it runs at a crisp, constant 120 frames per second, full 4K, HDR, Dolby Vision. I do not care. Because if it's a miserable damn experience to play, you can have all the tech specs in the world. Meaningless. All you should care about a game that is going to be probably 100+ hours of content. The only thing you should care about in that game is it going to be fun and playable. Just playable. Is it going to give me a consistent play experience? Is it going to be fun? Am I going to enjoy at least a good chunk of the story? Because a game like that's going to be, like I said, probably 100+ hours if you get into all the side quests and just random exploration.
Oh, I guarantee it will be.
Because if it's all a bunch of monotonous crap, but hey, it runs at 60 frames per second constant on my blah, blah, blah. Like, right, but do you really want to like play a basically work simulator for 100 hours? No. You want to play a fun video game.
I have put, I don't know how many hours into Gran Turismo in the last 4 months.
Yeah, well, I mean, I put a lot of hours into Forza games. I put a lot of hours into Fortnite. I put a lot of hours into, a bunch of different Star Wars games. I mean, there's a lot of games I sink a lot of hours to because I have fun with them.
That too.
That's
why I bought a full-on sim rig, dude. I have like a few $1,000s of equipment now over the last 6 months that I've accumulated to play right now just Gran Turismo.
I've put a bunch of hours into like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game they released. It's like the old arcade game.
That's
Shredder's
so
Revenge.
Fun,
like, why? Because it's fun. Not because it's like the most graphically crazy game in the world. It's fun. That's all I care about. That's all I care about. Is the game fun?
At the end of the day, that's why I spend all that money on the stuff.
Yeah, so all these people watching these YouTube videos, it's only 30 frames per second. You know what? A lot of these people, unless they're the kind of guys who go in and fine tune all their frame rates on their PCs, popping it into into an Xbox, guess what? You think they would have noticed it was running at 30 frames per second versus 60 while they're playing it? Probably not.
It depends on the person.
Naked eye, I highly doubt that unless somebody told them they'd notice. I can't tell half the time if a game I'm playing is running at 60 or 30. The only thing I get out of a game that I can visibly tell is running at a crisp 60 frames per second is it looks like action smoothing is turned on,
I get that.
which to me is like, meh. Like, okay.
And that's such a hit and miss. And some people are all about it. Like people are such like sticklers for
Yeah.
frame rate. Like, oh, it has to be 24, it has to be 30.
Yeah,
mean,
I don't
I-
care. Give
I
me a fun
appreciate the
experience.
smoothness.
That's all I care about. Give me a fun experience. That's all I care about.
I get that. You know, it's Bethesda, so at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. You know, forever Fallout 76 will be burned into Bethesda, no matter what they do. Although everyone's hyping Starfield, everyone's doing
Oh,
everyone's.
and Fallout 76 now is a good game. It's
I know
the
but
games.
it was a,
the games
it was a
that
nightmare launch.
right, but Starfield isn't a live service game. Games that prioritize live service over just being a good single player game are the ones that launch like that more often than not. And then after about a year, they get patched up. The only game that I can think of in recent times that was a big tentpole title, that was a single player game that launched buggy as shit, was Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I'd agree
And
with that.
now it's one of the most anticipated updates. And that game launched so bad that people were returning it.
Oh yeah, I put too many hours into it before I got denied on my return.
So all this kvetching over Starfield is silly to me, especially if you're running around also now excited about Phantom Liberty.
Yeah,
Like if you're excited about that after the launch that game had, then you're being very disingenuous about Starfield's 30 frames per second.
Yeah, I'm not. I tried to give Cyberpunk a chance even after a year later after the updates.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to either hit Game Pass or drop down to like $10. I'm not paying 50.
No,
I'm not even paying
I
30.
threw the money at it. I'm like, I'm not going to spend money at an update. Like, oh, maybe I don't care.
Mhm.
I don't care. It burned me too.
No,
bad,
it's
so
got to
I
come way
never-
down in price. It's got to, like I said, I'll pay $10 for it.
Yeah.
I'll pay $5 for it. I'll wait for it to come on Game Pass. I'm not paying $30 for it. I'm certainly not paying 50 for that and its expansion.
Yeah, I spent too much on it. I paid full price for it. I spent too much on it. I'm not going to buy the update until anything is like, oh, here's a free
Mhm.
DLC. Maybe years from now, if I even like get into it, or they release a sequel, or I don't know. I just gave up on. I'm like, whatever. Like not that I am at that age where I don't want to sound like I'm old and like, oh, this game isn't up to what it should be. It's just like I don't have time to play a buggy game anymore.
Well, yeah, we're not talking about buggy. I mean, Starfield releases buggy as shit the way that Cyberpunk was. You know, I'm right there with you. But getting pissy about a frame rate that half the people complaining probably wouldn't have even noticed if no one told them.
That too. I mean, it might, but if it breaks the game, that's the other thing too. That people go through it, and if
Well, that's the
they
thing. That's what I
introduce a
said.
Frame rate later on to where they go, oh, you can upgrade to 60, and then it breaks the game. Then it's like, oh,
Well,
now
but
he's
that's
flying.
two different
it.
things. Like, it's one thing, like I said, if they release it and it's a buggy mess, I'm right there with you. But kvetching over them locking it in at 30 so that you don't have a buggy experience, that's just them being a responsible game maker and having the right priority when they're making a game is,
That's-
hey, what is going to give the player the most consistent, entertaining experience? We're going with locked in 30 frames per second on console because that's what we feel will give the best experience. Great. That's what I want. I would rather them cater to people wanting to have a fun, consistent experience than cater to people who only care about graphics and frame rates. Because they only play probably 2 or 3 games. They probably play Call of Duty or Halo or competitive shooter of some kind or some kind of competitive fighting game where that matters.
Yeah.
So odds
I
are
don't
they
know,
probably
frame rate seems like
play
it's,
that
it's-
game.
it's- it's the frame rate to me seems like it's that tip of the iceberg of like, oh well, our game can, but it breaks everything, to where they know, yes, to the point of it's responsible, responsible creators say, hey, our game can't run beyond there. But in this day and age, you know that you're going to have to build that function in, because so many people are going to want to play 60 or 120 or uncapped frame rates. You know that they're not that everyone's going to want to go Doom Eternal and play it at like 240 and all that crazy level of frame
Yeah.
rates. But
Well, and
it
if
doesn't
you
matter
can
where it
do
is. I
that,
mean,
great.
it's gonna come in play, because you're gonna have those moments. Looking at some of the gameplay, the space combat, the various stuff like that, where you're gonna want that higher frame rate, to where that's just gonna be the nature of the beast. People are gonna want that for the combat scenes and maybe the action scenes, at 24, whatever it may be. To have to say, hey, we're locking in at 30 is very.
But
it's a safe bet.
it's about consistency. Like I said, I will always lean towards the person opting to give me the most consistent fun experience. Then look at what this can do graphically, but is a miserable slog to play. Like, I won't play a Call of Duty game. I have no desire to play a Call of Duty game. It may run a crisp 120 on a console. I don't care. I don't want to play it.
Oh yeah,
I don't have
that's
fun
also
with
the
it.
fan base and the crowd that plays it
Right,
too.
but
That's part of it.
but the point is, I don't care. Like, yes, it's got all these great graphics. I don't care. It's not fun to me.
There is that, and I'm with you to an extent, but I'm also at the point of, a return on my investment of, hey, I paid all this money for this console, I paid all this money for this game. I want it to look good too. If it's a little sloggy, but say the story's great and it looks fantastic, I played the hell out of Red Dead Redemption 2. Controls on that are a little slow. I'm not going to say they're not without flaws, but the story and the visuals more than made up for it.
Yeah.
I mean, then
and
that's where I'm at on that.
and
I will take substance over.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Fidelity.
I will. That's what I want. Is I want consistent and I want an enjoyable experience. And everything I've seen from Starfield is going to give me that. It looks gorgeous. I mean, just as is.
Oh yeah, yeah. Everything I've seen, it looks beautiful. I'm not saying. I'm not.
Gunplay looks nice and snappy, and the ship battles look cool and fun. Like it's going to give me exactly what I want.
No, I agree, but at the same time, it's just that worrying factor of what are they hiding behind that frame rate. I don't. We'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I don't.
But,
I don't think it's anything that they're hiding behind. I mean, even old NES games technically could push 60 frames per second. They just didn't.
True. That is very true. But we'll know. That game drops in a year.
No,
right?
September.
Oh shit, that's right. That is September. I forgot. I was thinking of
beginning of September, I believe. September 6th.
So like 3 months away.
Yep.
Either a No Man's Sky or resetting the bar for gameplay.
Well, and I think that people could take a lesson out of from fans of No Man's Sky. They gave that game the patience, and now it's considered one of the best games ever made.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, they did a fantastic job of fixing that.
So we know Bethesda is a reliable studio. We've seen them turn a game around before with Fallout 76. We've seen them do it. I think it's a lot of kvetching over nothing. I think that Bethesda and specifically Todd Howard's team has given us enough great games that I think we can give his team the benefit of the doubt, I think. Between all the mainline Elder Scrolls games and Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, I think we can give good old Todd Howard a little bit of the benefit of the doubt.
That's true. And, they've got some money behind it to fix it too, if need be.
Yeah.
So.
And who knows? In 6 months to a year, we could be saying the same thing about Redfall. We don't know.
Yeah, there is that. So,
it's
hard to say.
And, now you want to have a grander discussion around releasing games when they're buggy messes in the first place, that's a whole other can of worms we can get into on another day.
Oh yeah, that is a giant. That's not a can of worms. That's a full on vat of
Yeah.
worms there.
So,
But yeah, man. I gotta say this has been fun though.
yeah.
We gotta do this more often.
Yep. No, I'm ready to get back on the horse, so to speak.
Right. Health is in a better spot
Yep.
for mental and physical health is in a better spot. Time is better for all of us. And now my kids they actually sleep at night. So that was a big part of it was my kids had various offset schedules of, hey, one's awake, one's asleep, one's asleep, one's awake. It's my caffeine addiction now. Extreme caffeine addiction.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this is fun. We can do this more often.
So we will catch you on the next episode, hopefully in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Catch you later, everybody.